Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's Maxwell Leadership. Our certified team members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation, I'm proud to say, is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today. I proudly introduce you to my friend Bob Fabian Zinka.
Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ, where we help you lead with purpose and succeed with impact. If you're ready to grow into the kind of leader others want to follow, this podcast is for you. If you're determined to elevate your success and leave a lasting legacy, this podcast is for you. As my mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell reminds us, everything rises and falls on leadership. Our goal is simple: to inspire you, challenge you, and equip you with insights that can transform the trajectory of your leadership journey. Welcome aboard to another episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast with Coach BZ.
Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Maya Angelou. As I've watched increasing media coverage of injustice against men who look like me and been reminded of countless murders of Black people in recent times, I remain torn, as my first thought after utter pain is sadly and selfishly the idea that it could have been me. This violence is not new. It's not a series of isolated events. As an organization committed to improving people and leaders, my team and I at Military Mentors condemn racism, injustice, inequality, intolerance, prejudice, entitlement, and any abuse of power. Military Mentors grips hands with those who have experienced and continue to experience racial violence and oppression. In moments like this, I must ask, are you a leader? Leaders have a responsibility to improve the lives of those around them and make their organizations better. Connecting with, including, and mentoring people who may not look like you will push diversity into places of opportunity and higher levels of leadership, fostering the momentum for much needed, equitable.
All right. Are you a leader? That's the message from the Colonel. And part of what we do at the Leadership and Success Podcast is to really give us the tools and principles and ways to think about becoming a better human being, a better leader, and also achieving higher level of success. So for those who watch me this morning, I did my moment of gratitude for today. And today I was grateful just to be alive, just the ability to breathe. It's January 3rd, right? 2026, the third day of a brand new calendar year. I am happy I am here, and because I can breathe, because I am alive, and I have hope for tomorrow. All right, we're going to have a very special guest today. Let me see if I can properly introduce our guest. So we're going to be talking to the one and only COL Chaveso, COL Chevy Cook. He also has a Ph.D. and active duty U.S. Army colonel serving on the Joint Staff at the Pentagon. He is a soldier scholar, a mentor, and national recognized thought leader. Colonel Cook brings deep operational experiences from special operations alongside academic rigor and psychology and human development. He is also the co-founder and recently the executive director, but now on the board of militarymentors.org. So I really would like for the people who watch this podcast who follow me to really support this organization because it is championing mentorship as a strategic leadership imperative. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, please help me welcome COL Chevy Cook.
Hey, everybody.
Good morning, Colonel. How are you doing today?
I'm always doing good. I got little ones in the house, so I don't have time for bad days, as I've said one or two times in the past.
Good. Thank you so much for being here. What a great privilege it is to be mentored by a colonel on the Leadership and Success podcast today. So let's get to it. What are you grateful for this morning, sir?
Oh, that's good. So I have a journal, a bullet journal. I write down my gratitude every day. This morning, because the day's not over yet. As you do it at the end of the day,
Yes.
but I'll go with just this morning. This morning, I am grateful for the fact that I got a chance to get up
Wow.
and do a Murph workout of the day, or WOD, CrossFit
Yes.
WOD, named after Lieutenant Michael Murphy,
Mm-hmm.
who tragically gave his life, heroically gave his life many,
Yes.
many years ago for the Medal of Honor, Navy SEAL in Afghanistan as a part of Operation Red Wing. And I was challenged by a Navy guy who I played football with in high school to do a Murph a month,
Wow.
a Murph a month for 2026. And I'm going to do it on every
Wow.
first Saturday of
That's
every month
beautiful.
this year. And I got up and I was able to do that this morning, and my bones don't creak too bad. I didn't pass out. So it was a good
Wow.
start this morning. I'll be grateful for that at lunchtime.
That is really awesome, especially in the military service member. We have to be physically fit, but I think mentally fit as well. And I believe having a life of gratitude really goes a long way. What would you think, sir, especially for service member? Why should we be grateful?
So if you have a gratitude practice and you think about what you are grateful for, I would assume that it also goes with reflection. I
Mm,
mean, you can flippantly say like, I'm grateful for, I don't know, the TV in my house, or having Wi-Fi, or so. And I'm not saying
yes.
that those things you shouldn't be grateful for, because there's people who don't have TV, don't have Wi-Fi,
Mhm.
who don't have electricity consistently. But a lot of us, if we don't take the extra step to really think through, that's why I do it at the end of the day, because I
Yes.
want to actually like think through, well, what occurred today. Did I have any impact? What did my family do? What did we do at
Mm,
work? What did I read? Who did I talk to? I want to think through all of those things. So I think the importance for leaders to have a gratitude practice is it is a forceful reflective process.
mm,
And the research shows that reflection is a key component of character development, of leader development at an individual and organizational level. So
yes.
gratitude is about reflection. That's why we should do it as leaders, for sure.
That is quite powerful. And is there something about you, sir, that most people may not know about when they first meet you?
I think most people don't know that I'm more of an introvert than not.
Really?
I
Wow.
think because people see an external version, or a version from a distance, for sure,
Hmm.
of who I am, right? They see all the writing I do, the speaking I do. They see me on podcasts and things like
Yeah.
that. Obviously, as a leader in the military, you stand up in front of formations, et cetera, et cetera. My
Hmm.
life has not allowed me to be introverted, right?
Wow.
So the people make the automatic assumption that I'm extroverted. Oh no,
Wow.
very like I've taken a number of personality assessments, and
Yes.
truthfully, so the literature will bear out as well. Well, not just with me, but with a number of men. Men
Hmm.
tend to get more introverted over time, more
Yes.
reserved. So I was just beating that trend when I was like a teenager. I was just
Yes.
like already super
Wow.
introverted. Most people don't know I'm actually more introverted than not, which is the proper way to say I'm not an introvert. I'm
Yes.
not. None of us are introverts or extroverts. You're either more one or less than
Within
one,
the
but you're
spectrum.
able to go
Yes.
along a span.
Which means you expend more energy when you have to be extrovert. So what do you do to recharge, sir? How do you refill the tank?
It depends. Um, I read this great book a long time ago called "The Power of Full Engagement."
Hmm.
It's by Tony Schwartz, and
Hmm.
uh, man, I'm forgetting the second author, but it's Tony Schwartz is one of the authors,
Yes.
and this book taught me about different levels of fitness with respect to spiritual, mental, physical, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera.
I think it's
But
Jim Lore, I think
Jim
is
Lohr is the second author. So what's special about that book is what it tells you is you can't manage time, but what you can manage is energy. So for
wow.
me, it gave me specific practices that I could think about. So it can be just as simple as this. Um, I can go in a room before I got to give a speech or afterward,
Hmm.
drink some water, rub on my ears and maybe the back of my head, give me a little self massage real quick, 30,
Yes.
maybe a minute, and it can completely recharge me if it's completely quiet, lights are.
Wow.
It doesn't command all the time. Other things is I've gotten people around me to help with that, right? So if I had a second in charge, like a senior enlisted leader or something, I'd get them to buy me some time. If I was coming from an engagement, we are going into
Yes.
another, I'd ask them, hey, can you go run interference? Give me 5 minutes so I can take a walk, just so I could
Wow.
be connected with my own thoughts. So I've done a lot of that. My wife has been really good about calling me at work or texting or something and saying like, hey, take a minute for yourself.
Yeah.
And just that little, all I need is a little bit. I drive
Wow.
to, I got a very long, and when during my commute, I will no podcast, no music, no nothing, just
Mm.
complete silence. And some of my
Wow.
commutes are 90 minutes. So
Wow.
just being in there, being very deliberate about
Yes.
gaining silence, and coming to myself. There's a book called Leadership as a Relationship, and
Hmm.
in it, Mike Irwin talks about there's like three places you can be by yourself now. One of them is the car, the other is a shower, and I can't
Wow.
think, but I'm taking moments like that.
That is pretty amazing. We already got two book recommendations. It's not even been 5 minutes yet. Leadership is a relationship. How to put people first is in the digital world. Okay, thank you so much. This is just awesome. And again, this wasn't planned, but I really like what you are saying, sir. And based on what you've said, another question I have for you:
Yeah.
in 2025, 21st century, we have so much distraction now, so many input and things to focus on, right? And I think as leaders, we really get distracted so easily, social media and all of that. How do you find the time, or which technique do you use to really focus on your own priorities and kind of get rid of all of the distraction out there?
That's a good one. Um, Another book suggestion: Cal Newport has a book called Digital Minimalism.
Hmm.
People see me. I think people see me on social media, think I'm very engaged. Nope. I am on social media 3 days a week: Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday,
Wow.
for 40 minutes total. My phone is limited to allow me to do that, which means most of the posts that you see are curated, already written, set up by some other system or app,
Wow.
to post on my behalf. So I get to keep myself off of social media. That's one of the ways. Another way is every one of
That's
my bullet
powerful.
journals in the very front of it has my values, my purpose statement written right in
Hmm.
the front, my priorities. It's kind of a little diagram that I drew. Every single one of them
Yes.
for years now has had that in the front. And then daily, when I bullet journal, I assess my priorities. So I have a kind of stoplight chart as to whether I fulfilled my
Wow.
personal three priorities or not. So that's another way I keep myself kind of
Yes.
honed in and grounded. And then, like I told you a little bit before about like the gratitude piece and the
Hmm.
reflection piece and the deliberate time that I take to prepare for an event or a space,
Yes.
it always is grounded in my values. And I am like I learned a long time ago, and we get deep into psychology. There's no such thing as what is that thing people think they do when you do multiple tasks at once?
Yeah. Multitasking. Yeah.
Multitasking doesn't exist.
Yes.
It's called diverted attention. So I get in trouble with my wife sometimes because
Yes.
if I'm doing something and she wants me to do something else, I'll be like, hey, can I get 30 more seconds with this? And then I'll
Hmm.
be able to switch to that. She's like, well, just can you? I'm like, sweetie, I don't like to try to attempt to multitask because it just doesn't
Yes.
exist. So I'm very deliberate, even in my home, about like, while I'm doing this
Wow.
one thing, just let me focus, and then I will shift because then I can give my full attention. It's like you have a
Yes.
spotlight in your brain, right?
Yes.
So when it's over here, yeah, it's lit over here a little bit,
Hmm.
but the real light is right here. So I want to be able to lift and shift to those different things each time that I do
Yes.
that.
Actually, sir, for what you just said, there is a book I have. If I can get it, yeah, this one. One thing. Have you read this one?
I have not. That's a one that I must steal back from you.
Okay,
I
yes.
have not
This
read that one.
is
That's great.
a great book about what you are talking about, because we get so distracted, so many things to do. That's why we don't accomplish much. But if you can just focus on your primary thing, what's important, and it may not be urgent, but important, and just go through your day and accomplish that one thing, your life will change. Wow, that is powerful. So maybe, sir, to get started, we have so much to learn from you, but can you tell us briefly about your leadership journey, how you got to become Colonel Chevy Cook, U.S. Army?
As briefly as I can put it, I was a young kid in a space that wasn't full of great leadership back home. Typical kind of 80s neighborhood, stereotypical in the sense that there was drugs and violence, and not to the extent of some hoods in some places, but our own situations. And I was in an adoptive home. Many people know, have heard me talk about Mama J before. That was my next door neighbor at one point who adopted me. And the basic gist of it is, she said, you have to get out of this neighborhood, you have to go to college, and you have to figure out how to pay for it. And when I heard about West Point in high school, I was like, okay, that sounds like a place I want to go. It's free, it's college, it's meet my mom's intent. And I thought this leadership thing, because of sports and other things, was something I could get into. So fast forward, I go to West Point. I came in the Army. I've been in the Army since, on this side of it, since 2004, and still would hopefully serve a couple more years. And that's traversed a couple different areas. I was in the conventional Army. Vast majority of it has been in special operations community. I worked at the garrison level. I worked overseas. I've been in academia at West Point. I've been in the Pentagon. I'm in the Pentagon now. I've gotten a chance to do a lot of different things and unique things. I don't have a pretty, a stereotypical path, but I think what has really got me to those, to where I am as a colonel, working in the Pentagon, working on the Joint Staff today, is the people that supported me, like Mama J, like Ashley, my wife of now 27 years together, and almost 19 married. She's done a lot for me. And then of all of those places, whether I was at the academy or whether I was in battalion command or whether I was in a classroom, I always had a set of teammates around me that actually did all the hard work, lifted me up, cut me down when I needed to be chopped down. And that's really how I got to where I am today. And I'm glad to be with you, talk my personal perspective, not represent, the Department of War or the Pentagon Joint Staff or anything, my personal approach today, but glad that I've had the experience to serve America like I have.
Wow, that is really fascinating. That's really what I love about this country. Right, coming from another country, I was born in the Congo, which was a French colony. So Congolese by birth, French by culture, and American by choice. There's just no country like America. Right, there is no Congolese dream, there is no African dream, there is no French or European dream, but there is the American dream. Like myself, just looking back, I came here barely speaking English. I joined in as an E1 seaman recruit, lowest rank in the entire military, and today I am a senior officer in the most powerful navy in the world. I mean, only in America. Wow! But you also mentioned your wife, sir. If you don't mind, can you kind of share maybe what you believe is the secret of your long marriage and partnership?
Secret.
Yes. Because especially in the military, right? Because we get deployed, and especially when both parents are in the military, it's very, very difficult to keep a marriage and a family together. So when I see unicorns like you, I want to know, what's your secret? What do I need to learn that I don't know yet about marriage and being together for such a long time?
Well, there's a lot of secrets. We have a ton. I think, we both came from divorce homes. You should know that. And we grew up without fathers in the home. So one of our secrets is we're making it up. We're making it up as we go. You can read all the books. You can look for examples and details, or you can just do what feels right in your heart and in your gut and in your mind. And that's what we've done. We didn't have examples of what marriage should look like or what perfect should look like, but we could envision it. And we decided, we're engaged, we're dating and engaged for 7 years before we were married. People don't do that anymore, right? And I'm not bashing anybody's approach or anything. It's just we took a long, deliberate time to do that, and we've made it up as we went along. We've done what felt natural in our head, our heart, and our gut, right? Like the logic piece of it, the emotional piece of it, and then just the feeling of it. Another secret is, because we came from divorce homes, we don't believe in divorce.
Yes.
Now, I've had a number of used cars, and I know how this works, right?
Yes.
I can just go get a new one.
Yes.
In this case, I don't. There is no new car, right? So I will do everything, patch up a tire, fix the windshield. And
Wow.
just so we're clear, my wife is not a used car.
Yes. Yes.
She's more like a G5 jet, very clean and nice and high end. But
Yes.
we don't have the, listen, if you take divorce off the table, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying if your spouse is beating you or
Yes.
denigrating you or doing something else that you cannot leave. I'm just saying if divorce is not an option, maybe those things don't become options either. Like I
Wow.
can't hit my spouse because we can't get divorced, right? She
Yes.
can't kill me because then she won't have me anymore. But I mean,
Yes.
I'm making kind of light of it, but a secret that we have is we simply don't believe in divorce. So every
Yes.
conversation is about figuring it out together, head, heart, hunch.
Wow.
Um,
That is
and maybe a
really
last secret,
powerful.
just this is the last one, I promise. The last secret for you young men out there is realize that they're your better three quarters. A lot of us
Wow.
say like, that's my better half. No,
Yes.
my wife brings way much more to the table than I do. Has all listen, people who
Mm.
know actually know this. Like she
Awesome.
smiles with her eyes. She has a glow about herself. I'm not just like I say, and people who know me know I say this. Like,
Yes.
and people who've met her know, like if you don't like Ashley, there's something wrong with you. She's a real, genuine, good soul.
Yes.
She is a
Wow.
gift giver. She is a person who gives of her time. She is a deep emotional friend. She's committed. She's
Mm.
courageous. She's in shape. There's so
Yes.
many things about her that is just to be liked. And then
Mm.
I get to kind of like be her arm candy when I go places or whatever,
Yes.
because
Yes.
she's my better three quarters, and I may be bringing 25% to the table. It's the truth.
Wow. That is really simple, but so impactful and insightful. Thank you so much for sharing. I kind of joke with my wife. No, we definitely have that commitment. Divorce absolutely out of the table, right? And sometimes, yeah, we are human. We may get
Of course.
upset, and many times we argue about things that don't matter at all. But by the time our heads get hits the pillow at night, we absolutely have to forgive one another and love each other
100%.
all over again. So
100%.
one joke I have is, if she ever decides to leave me, we're gonna leave me with myself. I'm gonna go with her, and we're gonna leave me because wherever she goes, I'm going with her. So
We have the same
it's
joke.
really awesome.
Same joke. Same joke. If you leave me, I'm
Uh,
leaving too. I'm going
yeah,
right where you right where you
exactly.
are.
And you said she's no free quarter, your best free quarter. So I am commander in the Navy, but when it comes to my household, Commander Zinga, that's not me. It's my wife Dimitria. She's the commander of this house for sure. So yeah, it was one day maybe I know. I kind of got the big head, I got this huge promotion and all that. She's like, okay, you may be all of that to the Navy out there, but in this house, I am in charge. So sit down and shut up. I'm like, yes, ma'am. So it's very, very clear. And wow, okay. So maybe one question I have for you, Vencer, is so you've served in high risk operational environment and I trust strategic role. Looking back, what moment most fundamentally reshaped how you understand leadership today? Not in theory, but in practice.
That would probably be, luckily enough, when I was about the time I was a lieutenant, a young lieutenant. So for those not in the know, and I'm not in the Navy, so a lieutenant for me is second lieutenant is the very first entry level officer position. And I came into the Army out of West Point, cocky for sure, overzealous. I wanted to be the best lieutenant, the typical best of the best of the best of the best. And so I wasn't a big sharer back then. Like if I figured out how to do something more efficiently or I made my platoon better in some way, I wasn't sharing that. I just didn't do it. I wanted to shine. I wanted recognition. And what I learned over time from peers mainly was that that didn't make the unit any better. Yeah, it might have
Mm,
made my platoon better, but it didn't make the battery or company level better. It didn't make the battalion or the squadron the next kind of level, and on and on and up. I was just worrying about my own little kind of rice bowl or fiefdom.
yes.
And that is not the way to do business. So and it really came to fruition like when I had a kid, when I had my
Mm,
oldest daughter, and I finally understood what it meant to really pour into something that's, yeah, it's quote unquote yours, but she's her own person.
yes.
When I first started her saying phrases, simple phrases that they say in school, like sharing is caring, then I
Mm-hmm.
really got to understand what leadership was about, which was
Wow.
always making the organization better. I used to kind of say it in a flippant way, saying like, if I was you pick your best quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, whoever, or you can pick whatever, you can play the other version of football and other places, basketball player, you name it. I used to say if
Mm.
if I was that person and if I was if I wanted to be a Tom Brady, the difference here is I would be telling the defense my plays. I would be telling the linebackers on the field exactly what I'm about to do. I would tell the defensive coordinator, the other coach. I would tell them all the things that I'm going
Mm.
to do every single play because I'd be sharing. It would be about,
Yes.
hey, I want everyone to know how I'm trying to be successful. Now, if Tom Brady is that good, or if Michael Jordan is that good, you pick your athlete, they would probably still score. They would probably still do well, even though everyone on the field knows exactly what they're doing. If I was to be that good, then I could
Mm.
still be successful by
Yes.
sharing. And I went as far as making something called the playbook that I handed out. Like I would
Wow.
orchestrate everything that I did, like in command. I would orchestrate it. I would like lay it out, put the psychological principles and everything behind it. I
Mm-hmm.
would show all my cards in the effort with other commanders, with other people. Just say like, "Hey, here's how I'm doing this business over here. Can you please
Wow.
share what you're doing with me?" Sometimes it would share back. Sometimes it wouldn't. Didn't
Yes.
matter.
Yes.
Sharing is caring, as my little one used to tell me.
Wow, that is so powerful. Really, servant leadership really makes the difference. Something similar with me when I first joined the Navy. It was, I believe, a first class who told me, "Do you know what Navy stand for?" Seaman recruit. I'm like, "No, first class. What does it stand for?" He says, "Never again volunteer yourself." I think he was joking. I think he was, but I definitely did the complete opposite. You do have to volunteer. You have to add value because that's really how you grow and you help your organization do better. So back into your leadership journey, sir, your personal purpose statement, which is published online, you said, "I am purpose built to serve others." Where
Yeah.
did that come from? When did that stop being just an aspiration and really become a lived responsibility for you?
Well, somewhere around the time I was transitioning to a young 30-year-old, I got this brand new kid in the house. We married a couple years, transitioned over to special operations. And, this is prior to me going back to West Point to teach. I felt like, people would always ask you a leadership philosophy and stuff like that. I got
Yes.
it really deeply into reading, and I came across this idea of a purpose statement, and I
Hmm.
was trying to answer a question for myself. So going back to me being more introverted than not, I
Yes.
was wondering how I could be so paradoxically built. How can I
Hmm.
be a person who rather be in a book, rather be quiet, rather be by myself, gets energy from that,
Yes.
but have this ability to lead, to speak, to communicate, to connect, to network. Like it was, I felt that was a paradox.
Hmm.
And for me, I'm a religious man. I don't want to make this religious, but
Yes.
for me, that had to come from something given to me or written for
Hmm.
me to be, kind of this paradox. And for me, that paradox became my purpose. I felt like I was purpose built to serve others because I have this
Mm.
ability to connect, but my ability to deeply reflect and be introverted allows me to recharge in a way that just becomes, again, the cycle
Yes.
comes back out to serve others. Service to others starts in my house. It's with my kids. Those are
Mm.
service to
Powerful.
others is my wife. So people think your purpose statement or these like leadership philosophies is about your
Yes.
formation, your organization. Yeah, they are. But
Yes.
for me, for mine, an other is everything outside of my body.
Wow.
So just some years ago, I came across just trying to answer that question for myself. Why am I built this way? And I think I was given that amount, the extreme amount of introversion, and reflective kind of nature I have in
Hmm.
order to serve others. So that's where it came from.
Wow. That really reminds me again. Right now, I'm doing the study of the book of Proverbs. I've been doing that since I was like 12, 13 years old. It's not religious at all, just looking at ancient wisdom and getting all of the leadership lesson from that ancient book, which I believe is still applicable today. But uh, Jesus said, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. So the way to greatness is through service. It sounds like a paradox. How in the world? But really, if you want to lead, you have to serve. that's the only path for greatness. Wow.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Having read the Bible a couple of years ago, straight, front to back, I got a chance to read other religious texts like the Quran front to back, and there's a thread through a couple of these different
Yes.
texts, ancient wisdoms, religions, this spiritual side of who we are, and
Hmm.
it's in like a service. We can talk about character as well, and
Yes.
character, when you really think about character, different than personality, right?
Hmm.
Personality is kind of this direction. Character is a that direction, and it
Yes.
has a interpersonal component that must be done, and that comes from me through service to others. And
Yes.
people say things like service above self and all of those things. For me, it's strictly my purpose. It comes down
Wow.
to my purpose. It comes down to, well, what am I here for? And it is to do
Yes.
this for other people, whether that's the kids in my house,
Mm.
whether that's some large formation, whether it's an extremely high government official that I'm giving direct advice to. I
Yes.
get to do this all day, every day, if I
Wow.
am doing it right.
That is really amazing, because the truth is, the way we usually define success, no, it will never satisfy. I mean, how many houses can you have? You can only live in one house at a time. How many cars can you have? You can only drive one at a time. So at a certain point, once your basic needs are met, money really doesn't mean anything anymore, right? But when you serve, when you add value to other people, I think that's really bring fulfillment. Uh, even if things you are struggling right now, some of us do at time, but if you volunteer and you help other people, you're going to see there are many people who are having a much bigger challenges than you have. You thought you had problem, people really have some issues, and I think that really brings us together, our humanity, and just building our community. Now, one thing about your career survey research I did prior to this podcast, you've really always almost chosen the harder path, no, the less conventional path. No, you did special operations, psyops, influence work, and so on and so on. So, what trade-off did you knowingly accept, and what did they teach you about leading without visibility, when nobody knows your name and nobody knows even what you are doing?
So for me, the biggest what I knew I was giving up is, like, let's just take the psychological operations community specifically.
Mhm.
I came into it when it's a brand new branch, when we didn't have a GO, we still don't have general officers. I knew I was not going to be a general officer. I knew that this was going to cap at lieutenant colonel or colonel. I was
Mm.
giving up kind of that. Not to say that I had GO potential or wanted
Yes.
to be a flag or general officer.
Hmm.
Just I knew that there was a cap, and that the community was small. There were only certain places I could serve, and I knew I was going to sign,
Wow.
non-disclosure agreements. I knew
Yes.
that a lot of the things that I was going to be
Mm.
doing were going to be behind a veil, or behind a system or
But
cutout. I knew all of that going into it,
wow. But
and that
also, sir,
actually, like,
for the people who are listening who may not know about the military beneath of the army, so he is a colonel, which means one promotion away from being a one-star general. So that's a very big deal. Yes, sir.
and I'm like I said earlier, here because of a number of teammates, because of my better three quarters. So many people have kind of allowed me to keep pushing along the way. But I gave up. To your point, I knew that this is where I was going to be. Obviously, this was an
Yes.
aspirational goal, because this was, kind of the top of where my career field could be. And luckily, along the time, there's been a lot of things that I've been able to be a part of, and I've had great teams that have allowed me to get here.
Yes.
Not easy at all, but I mean, service in any capacity, right, is especially when you're in the uniform service, you give
Hmm.
up a lot. You give up a lot of you give up your voice in certain instances.
Yes.
You give up the hairstyles that you might want, or tattoos you might want to have on your face. There's a lot of kind of things like that you give up. A
Yes.
lifestyle. I don't have what's called a forever home, right? Like, I've lived in a
Mm.
number of homes. I haven't, like, had my family in one spot for long lengths of time. My
Yes.
oldest daughter has been to a number of high schools. There's a lot of things you give up.
Mm.
But for me, those sacrifices have been poured back into a formation. And I've
Yes.
made sure the whole time that I've taken care of my family. All my
Mm.
PCSs since we've had children, permanent change of station, every time we've moved someplace, my wife was the chooser of that place.
Yes.
Those assignments that I was, that were, as I got older, people were allowing me to choose between. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
those went to my wife. Like, yeah, we talking
Yes.
at home first,
Mm.
before I give you an answer. So, that there has been, as we've sacrificed, because my family, Lord knows they have,
Yes.
I've directly engaged them so we could try to find some. I don't do balance; I do integration.
Mm.
So some sort of integration along the way.
Let's talk just a little bit about that
Okay.
life work integration. Can you expand on that, please?
So I was told a long time ago that balance is unachievable,
Hmm.
and I was a young captain.
Yeah, actually, my captain, which for you would be a colonel, told me when I was
Yeah,
in O1, if you want balance, is when your wife is against you, your boss is against you, and
there
everybody
you go.
is mad at you at the same time. That's proper balance.
That's right. So that person also told me about this concept of integration,
Mm,
of trying to bring the spaces as closely together and integrated as possible. So what that can look like, look, I work in a secure facility in the middle of the Pentagon, and at times I worked and behind closed doors where swipe access and all that stuff. Like,
mhm.
look, my family can't be in there. I got it.
Yes.
um, but the flip side of that is when I'm there and I'm doing that. But when I go home, like, guess what? I am not a person who does my military work, and I don't have a home office. My wife does because she
Mhm.
works at her home. This is not my office that we're in. We're actually in my
Yes.
wife's office, to be clear.
Yes.
So that's what I have done though is when I did have assignments when I could go home earlier or go in late, that's what I did.
Mhm.
When
Yes.
I was working 1.3 miles away from my house in battalion command, I came home for lunch. I
Yes.
took my kids to school.
Mm.
Um, if my wife needed something from the pharmacy, I left work to go get it and bring it home,
Yes.
even though she just kind of was like, "Well, can you just swing by
Mm.
the house?" I just did it because I could.
Yes.
When I could have a cell phone in my office, I did, and I answered it whenever my wife called, regardless of.
Mm.
I've answered my phone with a general officer in my room before.
Wow.
Yes, and I have said to that general officer, and this person knew who they are. Hey, my wife is calling. There's been times I've been overseas where she could not call me. If
Yes.
you would allow me the chance, let me just call and make sure she's good to go.
Wow.
So I do that. So integration for me can also look like me putting my kid on my back and walking around the formation and
Yes.
giving out cookies on Valentine's Day,
Yes.
right? That's integration because they get to see the uniform. They get to see that we're
Mhm.
not just uptight warriors that are just out here to kill people. We have a
Yes.
soft side and a compassion and emotional intelligence about
Mm.
ourselves. So that is integration for me too. So there's no
Wow.
balancing the two. There's let's bring it in concert as much as
Yes.
possible.
Wow, that is such a very very important lesson to learn, especially in the military, because sometimes I mean again I understand high tempo you are deployed you have to do what you need to
Of
do,
course.
but you have to remember you have a family and because no the Navy when I joined the Navy they issued everything, especially when I was enlisted as an officer you do have to pay for your own uniform, but they gave me pretty much everything. I went from them like okay am I gonna get a new wife or something too, like it's like everything you need they just give it to you, but
Guilty.
that was a joke, but anyway. So let's be more serious. So you've led during the search in Iraq. I think General Petraeus, which I was really humble and privileged to interview during our last season. What he really did to move us forward as a country. But you served during the Arab Spring and counter ISIS operation, and on and on and on. Period of ambiguity and moral friction. So, what do leaders consistently misunderstand about decision making under pressure? I mean, immense pressure through all of the work you did for the army.
Most misunderstand the importance of competence in those situations.
Mm,
Now, this might seem intuitive, but it's not. If you go back and actually do the research, I taught a class called Leadership in Combat. It was PL 471 at West Point some years ago. And when you
mhm,
look from the Great Wars all the way forward to the ones you described that I got the privilege to serve in, if you interview followers and ask what they're looking for in their leadership, there's three things they're looking for. The number one thing they're looking for is not courage or bravery, it's
yes,
actually competence. They want to know that you know what you're talking about, that you know this battle space, that you know if I say go to that X, that's the right X. If I'm making this decision, it's for the right reasons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're looking for
Yes.
competence first. So I think what people misunderstand is that you need to be courageous under pressure. No, every bit of research says you need to be competent. Because no one can take that. That's your primary weapon system, is your ability to think through a situation. Now, that situation can be rapidly evolving. It can involve fire coming in. It can involve a catastrophic loss or simple loss. It can be loss of equipment, loss of life, limb, or eyesight, or livelihood. What you need to be doing, whether that is microseconds or a couple minutes, is thinking and have the competence that goes with it. Now, the second thing right behind is actually character. So not only do you need to have, in those high pressure situations, the ability to think, you then need to have a moral compass so that your thinking matches your values, right? So we're doing the right thing while we're thinking about what the right thing is. The third thing that people forget, and that the research would back up, is actually care. So competence, character, and care. They want to know, your soldiers, your formation, the people around you want to know that if you say, I've chosen the right X, it's for the right reasons, that I'm going to the X with you.
Yes.
And if I can't go to the target with you, when you come back from the target, if you're maimed, injured, seen something you didn't want to see, or have any problems, issues, challenges, that I'm going to care about you in a way that's not just going to fling you to the wolves, or crap on you, or not take the time to help you get through that, whatever that thing may be. So that's what people forget. People forget that you need competence first. People need to see that you have character, and people for sure need to know that you care.
Yeah, I think now more and more I realize a lot of the leadership training we get in the Navy, we stole it from the Army and we just put Navy on the top. But we talk about competence, character, and connection. I guess connection, care, it's pretty much the same idea. Let me ask you about this before we go to the last segment. Military mentor, you were the co-founder, until recently executive director. You now understand on the board of advisor. But the question I have for you, you do have a quote that's pretty popular, but that makes people think. I think you said something like mentorship is more important than leadership. That's a little bit controversial. Can you tell us more about that? And why is mentorship so important to you personally?
Well, mentorship for me is the most important, outside of maybe the relationship of a father with his kids, or a husband or a wife with their spouse. Outside of those relationships, mentorship in a leadership capacity is probably the most important relationship you can have, because of the legacy that it leaves. And I will break this down very simply with respect to why I think mentors are more, or mentoring is more important than whatever leadership capacity you have, is simply because of this. One, in this generation, like, leaders leave. You're in the military, I'm in the military. We are going to PCS. I've never been on a duty station for 20 years doing the same job. Doesn't happen. I will move. It doesn't matter how good you are at that role, you're going to move. That happens in the corporate sector as well. Given the fact that we have things like LinkedIn and like Indeed, like, you don't even have to be looking for an opportunity somewhere else. Like, opportunity will come find you. And for the right amount of compensation, or the betterment of your family, or maybe a better situation, leaders leave. So, but mentors don't, right? If you really think about it, mentors don't leave your life. There are general officers who are retired who still connect with me, that I've known since they were colonels.
That's incredible. Now, do they ask you to call them by their first name and no longer say general?
Oh, it's a bunch of like, it's a mixed bag. I default to sir with a lot of them.
Okay. Because I have a very hard time calling a general, even a colonel, by their first name. Very hard time doing that. But
the good thing about the conversations is that they stay around.
Yes.
And that's why, there's a couple other points I could add to it, but the main one is that, when I think about a person in particular, and I've told this story before, Tom Grimes, when I was in JROTC in high school, he had retired in the 80s, was teaching me in the 90s, and had served in Vietnam in the 70s, by the way. And I talked to him a couple of months ago.
That's amazing.
I still talk to him, and he retired as a lieutenant colonel. He loves calling me sir. I have always called him sir. And he's
Yes.
like, "Oh, you outranked me now." And he's in his 70s, right?
Wow, that's
Just like I
incredible.
said, like that legacy, that ability to stay with people. We've never
Yes.
served in uniform at the same time. He
Mhm.
lives in Florida. I haven't lived in Florida since I was a
Yes.
little young pup. But
Wow.
that's my main one is leaders will leave, mentors don't.
That is really insightful. Well, there's another controversial subject surrounding you, sir. This book here, Start With Why, Simon Sinek, it's been recommended on this podcast over probably 12 times or so. I've interviewed about 100 people last year. I mean, even in the Navy, that was a required reading, I think, when I was a lieutenant
Oh
JJ.
yeah.
But anyway, so let's talk about popular leadership versus really hard leadership reality. So many people turn to Sinek, people like him, because his work feels accessible and inspiring. So do you think there is maybe a risk that leaders prefer comforting narrative over grappling with the hard, ambiguous reality of leadership, and why?
So one of the problems I have with Sinek's work is this: there's no empirical research behind it.
Mhm.
Obviously I'm a nerd, and I think, and I'm not the first person to critique him. By the way, there's been many
Yes.
critiques of him, and that's usually the case when you're as successful as he is. I'm
Mhm.
not trying to make my bones about like downgrading Sinek.
Yes.
He's a national, New York Times international bestseller. I
Yes.
can't compete with that, but I do know a couple things, and just the core message for me, outside of the fact that he doesn't rely on empirical research, is where do his stories come from?
Mhm.
Right? His stories come from the military. His stories come from idealistic
Yes.
places. Yes, he's done a lot of consulting,
As
but what
as far
has
as I know,
he
he's never
led?
served in the military.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. As a person, what I can tell you from my experience is I can talk, and I have referred to a lot of studies and research while we've been
Mm-hmm.
talking, and I do have
Mm-hmm.
a PhD myself.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes, indeed.
I'm a colonel. I've worked in the Pentagon. I've worked in combat, et cetera, et
Yes.
cetera. So I have the real experiences that go with it. So I think a lot of his work is it's a good start. It's a place of idealism, but I think
Mm.
there's a practicality and a realism that has to happen. Look, purpose ain't gonna
Yes.
starting with why and having look, we talked a lot about purpose earlier. Purpose is not gonna
Mm-hmm.
get you through that truck that's stuck in the mud and four flat tires.
Yes.
Like there's no like, let's sit back and talk about the why and let's get to deeper to our
Yes.
purpose. Your purpose is to serve others. Right now, I needed you to serve me
Yes.
by changing this
Yes.
tire and getting this for like. There's no time for that.
Mm.
There's a
That is powerful.
realism that needs to happen in those moments that empirical research or
Mm.
not addresses the ambiguity that's in front of you. When I talked about character and competence and care
Yes.
earlier, there can be purpose
Mm-hmm.
driven, part of that. And there can be an idealism but then there can be brass tacks. Look, when things are happening and I'm just directing you
Mm.
to do something right
I
now,
love it.
we don't have time to talk about all the other things. We can get to the why
Yeah.
later. I need you to get off the X right now because it's dangerous and I need you to listen and I just need you
Mm.
to go with my direction. So that's
Yes.
kind of, and I also think he
That's powerful.
oversimplifies organizational behavior, organizational change, how we
Mm-hmm.
actually practically do things. His experience
Yes.
comes from consulting organizations, not from actually doing the change himself. And that's the problem I
Mm-hmm.
have. I'm not saying you have to be a practitioner, but
Yes.
I can shoot, but I can also talk about the dynamics, the physics
Exactly.
of a bullet.
Yes. No, that is really insightful. And also for those who follow me, my mentee listening on the call, I always say, right, you need to have an open mind, at least listen, but ultimately you make the decision, right? You have to be analytical and see what works for you. That's why I love, one of my primary mentor, General Colin Powell, he worked his last book, it worked for me, right? Try it out. If it works, keep doing it. If it doesn't, no, you can try something else. So now we only have about 10 minutes or so, but I think I can do it. We're going to go to the final segment of the show where I try to get into your head to really figure out what makes you tick and what are the leadership lessons and principles that have really helped you get to where you are now, especially for my junior officer who are listening.
Yeah.
What do you think, sir, is the greatest lesson you have ever learned in general, in leadership, in life?
Wow. That's a very deep question. Greatest lesson I've ever learned.
Or one of the greatest?
One of One of the greatest lessons I've probably learned is the difference between a good decision maker, a prudent decision maker, and someone who practices
Hmm.
discernment. They're not synonyms. Those are
Wow.
different levels. For me, it's a decision maker is, can I eat or not? Am I hungry or not? Should I eat or not? That's like toddlers can do that. You can make a good decision whether I want to eat or be hungry. Prudence is a level up from
Hmm.
that. Prudence has something to do with time. Right? Prudence has something to do with I make good decisions over time. So you can be a prudent thinker. This is a timely thought.
Yes.
I'm hungry, but I'm gonna have. Am I gonna have a late lunch or early lunch because I'm gonna balance out dinner? That's being
Hmm.
prudent. The next level up is discernment, and we've all seen it.
Wow.
Most people who make flag officer, CEOs, those really deep thinkers, the
Yes.
ones who are in the room who you say think outside the box, they're actually just practicing discernment. Discernment
Yes.
is that base layer, good decision making. It's also the time component. But then the
Hmm.
next level up is they've done it consistently, habitually for a long time, and it involves wisdom. So
Yes.
they can hear a
Wow.
bunch of the malaise or the different things, the
Hmm.
miasma that's in a room, and they can reach in and they can
Yes.
pull this one thing out. This is the most important thing we need to focus on.
Hmm.
Discerning. I've seen that when I worked for the
Powerful.
Secretary of the Army. I've seen that by our current chairman, General Dan Kane.
Yes.
I've seen it by a number of leaders that I've been around, and you know it when you see it because it's like no one else is seeing
Hmm.
that one thing. Man, that's so
Yes.
discerning. They can just this is the problem. This is
Wow.
the actual challenge. This is beneath the table. This is what's not being said. So that's a great lesson.
Yes.
Don't be a good decision maker.
Hmm.
Please be prudent, but it takes
Yes.
time, and you really know the difference when someone is discerning.
Yeah. That is quite powerful. What do you think, sir, is the secret of your success?
Um, that's a great question too. I think working on humility at all times, being
Hmm.
reflective, staying grounded in my values and my purpose statement, and then realizing that I will take the uniform off. Look,
Wow.
I haven't chased down a job in a long time. People have brought
Hmm.
stuff to me. I
Yes.
haven't chased after things outside of my marriage. I come home to it.
Yes.
I haven't tried to make my children into who I am or me. I have
Hmm.
chased down what they want to be. So
Yes.
I
Wow.
think those things are maybe my secrets to success. Yeah, yeah. Am I very driven? Am I, habit? Do I practice habits? Do I read a lot? Do I reflect a lot? Do I journal a lot? Yes. But I think all of those are
Yes.
secondary to me being receptive to the world, stepping into a
Hmm.
space when it is being asked of me to, I need you to do this job. I need you to perform this
Yes.
role. I need you to do that task. I just only know how to go hard and work hard and try to turn in a
Hmm.
professional product. So it doesn't matter. I'd be a great janitor too, I think.
Yes. Yes. Wow, that is powerful. Always, I'm reminded of a speech by MLK. I think I was 7 years old. Of course, everybody knows him about the "I have the dream" speech. But when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, I heard this speech. He was talking to a high school, and he says, "Be the best no matter what you do." Something about even if you sweep the street, so do it in such a way that even the angels in heaven will stop and say, "There was a man
Right.
who swept the street like nobody else."
It's
And that really, it always stuck with me.
success is just
Powerful.
I
Okay.
think another piece of it is people don't really realize that you can't really success is a work in progress at the same time. So,
Yes.
my secret is knowing that like I'm nervous about whether I'm doing this thing right at all times.
Yes.
Fatherhood, all of
Yes.
it. So, success is going to be measured when you're sitting at the end of your life, whenever that time is. And it's going to be measured
Yes.
by those around you and not yourself.
Well, we have our first question from the audience. So this is
Sure.
Major Select Contessa
Yeah.
Tracy, U.S. Army. Actually, she was on the podcast, I think, last
Mhm.
week. So she says, discernment is actually my word for the year. Okay, that's wonderful. How would you advise a new field grade officer, she's talking about herself, and commander to boost their discernment while leading formation? That's a great question. Thank you so
That is
much.
a great question.
Gladiator 6, thank you for the
Mhm.
question. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Contessa. I think she also signed up to do this Murph a month thing with me, so I hope she's out
I
there
wouldn't be
doing that this
surprised.
month.
She has a great future. I see a star in her
Oh yeah,
future. Maybe,
she's
maybe we'll
great.
see.
This is
So,
this is a good question. Pretty simply, first, I think you need to understand the layers that I talked about. I think a lot of people don't
mhm,
understand what discernment is. They just think it's like thinking outside of the box. And I think it
Yes.
does take time. I think people try to push to be discerning. The way to start truly is to be quiet, listen.
Mm.
I heard it from a poet first, Carvin's the Saint, but it's actually a quote from Gandhi. It is speak only to
Yes.
improve upon the silence. So a discerning
Wow.
person can, like, instead of just, well, I gotta say, I gotta be a field grade and I'm the S3 or I'm the ops guy or gal or whatever, and I gotta add this one bullet or I have to say something to start the meeting. No, you don't. You actually don't.
Mm.
Speak to improve upon the silence. That is
Wow.
discerning. That means you're listening. Okay, what are we not focused on here? Right? I'm taking it
Yes.
all in. I'm parsing and piecing it out. And then I'm okay. Now, if I have nothing, I don't have anything. But if I do, now I'm going to inject this one thing. That's what I would say you could start. Start with
Wow.
just improve upon the silence when you speak. If not, be quiet.
That's really powerful. So let me ask a follow-up then. How do you put a check upon the ego, especially as young men, as junior officer? I see a lot of ego and shenanigans, but as you become one more senior, I realize people keep it more in check and they have a lot more discernment. But just in your opinion, sir,
Oh
how,
yeah.
how would a JO put that in
So
check?
read "Ego is the Enemy" by Ryan Holiday. Practice
Another
Stoicism,
book
another
recommendation.
book, right? Like that one really talks about the practical steps on how to do it,
Mm,
and he's also a great author. Um, that's like kind of
ego
just
is
a
the
way you
enemy.
can read about it. But the other piece of it is, listen, I'm gonna tell you, I was that lieutenant, as I mentioned very early on, that wanted the spotlight, wanted to shine, and wanted my name on somebody's board or in somebody's mouth. I'll tell you, at this stage
Mm,
and age, especially the work that I do, where I do it, I don't necessarily want to be in those briefings. I don't want to be in that space. I don't want to be known. You don't want the phone calls in the middle of the night from
yes.
very important people. You don't want to work the late hours
Mm,
like you are deployed when you're in the States. You don't,
yes.
I'm telling you right now, you don't want those things. And there's a way to balance it where you can be behind the scenes and it can be just as impactful. John Maxwell, there's been many people who have
Hmm.
said you can be extremely successful if you don't care who gets the credit. So that's how you
Yes.
keep,
Yes.
for me, the ego in check. Now, for me, as a person who's struggled with pride and things like that over my time, and have to be very deliberate about how I approach life. It's being
Hmm.
reflective. It's about speaking only when it's important to speak. It's about not being flashy or kind of in people's faces. There's a consciousness about managing not your reputation, but your character, who you are. Character in the original sense, in the original
Yes.
Greek, it was spelled the exact same way, except for the second C had a K. So character in the original Greek
Wow.
was a mark that you put on a coin. You put certain marks on a piece of metal to denote
Hmm.
what it was worth. So think about that. If you think about your character being your marks of your morals, your values, your reputation,
Yes.
all those things, you only get to make that mark once because it's in metal. And there's no such thing about making a different
Hmm.
marker, crossing it out. So your character
Yes.
matters.
That is really quite insightful. Okay, we know that leaders are learners. What are you learning now, sir?
I'm always reading. I learned a big lesson about myself for since my 30s. Since about 29 or 30, I would write down everything I would catalog everything I read for the year, and I
Hmm.
had a goal of at least 2 books a year, so 24 books. I have to read. I can't do audio and stuff like that. I have to have a physical copy. So for years, I've read
Yes.
hundreds of books that way. And last
Wow.
year was the first year. I'm 45. Last year was the first year I decided not to do that. I was going to read, and I
Hmm.
did, but I only read 12 books, like one a month. And two of them
Only.
really, they were like Father's Day books, and they were like really thin and small. But what I
Yes.
learned by not cataloging what I read, by not always posting about it, what I learned is that I need to do that. So I'm learning that reading is such an important part of who I'm in my journey and my ability to read multiple books all at once. I was just kind of I was
Yes.
just logging it through last year and just taking it easy is
Hmm.
what I that wasn't good for me. It wasn't
Yes.
healthy for me actually. And that I need to get back to cataloging it, having a goal, reading multiple books at once and not just one at a time like that. I
Yes.
took a year to do that, to figure that out about myself because I'm willing to.
Wow.
I need
That is
data.
awesome.
I need
Yes.
data,
Yes.
and now I have the data. I have to read more voraciously. So that's what
Mm.
I'm learning about myself. Is
That is
reading
really
is good for me.
powerful. Technically, Spencer, can you give us 10 more minutes or no?
Yeah, of course. I'm here
Okay,
with you.
thank you. Thanks so much because you have so much insight on our geos like uh, Gladiator 6 right there. She's really eating this up. And she says she's Murph once a year in May, sending out all of your cheers. Thank you so much. I'm sure that is quite a challenge. So what about failure? How has failure shaped your life?
Failure is the number one shaper of anyone's life, in my opinion. But
Mm,
in my particular life, because of those early missteps in my career, because of even earlier missteps by others, who
yes.
maybe my birth parents' failure in their marriage affected how I grew up. Those things, and not to
Hmm.
place blame, just to be realistic. Like for
Yes.
me, failure has been the ultimate shaper of
Mm,
how one learns. For me, if you really think about it, you thought you were going to succeed anyway. Like really think about what success means. You can
yes.
pick your poison. Pick graduating from high school, um, knocking the home run out of the park. Picture getting your
Hmm.
MBA, PMP, doctorate, whatever that may be. You always pictured yourself doing that. You were already like,
Yes.
yeah, that's going to happen. And when it does happen, you don't sit back. We don't graduate college and be like, how did I make it through those 4 years? You don't do
Yes.
that. We don't. None of us do. But
Yes.
man, let you
Yes.
misstep, let you fail a class, let you not get that
Mm,
MBA, let you fail a physical fitness test, let
wow.
something happen, let your marriage break down,
Yes.
and not work. You will be so reflective
Mm,
in your practice that you'll go back and you'll try to figure the thing out. There's this thing
wow.
called Bathsheba syndrome. It's in the
Hmm.
literature as well.
Yeah.
It's related to the biblical story, of course, but
Yeah.
for me, like success is just a pedestal that just helps you, but it's helps you climb higher and higher. But what it
Yes.
really is a column right up under your feet. And
Hmm.
the taller it gets, the more wobbly it gets. And then you're gonna
Yes.
eventually fail and you learn from the fall. I really do truly believe that.
Wow. That is powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I believe it was JFK, right, who said success has many favors, whereas failure is an orphan. And I think Bill Gates who said you really don't learn anything from success at all. All of your learning is really done when you fail. That is so true. Okay, if you could choose three people to have dinner with, who would you choose and why? They could be alive, dead, or even mythical figures.
Oof. Three people I would love to have dinner with. I believe in
Hmm.
God, so I would like to have dinner with God. That would be neat.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, neat is like a small word to use, but it would
Hmm.
be amazing and impactful. So, dinner with God. If we're talking about humanity, um, it would be really neat to have dinner with Edgar Allan Poe.
Mm.
Probably not something
Right.
on somebody's bucket list, but Edgar Allan Poe is, yeah, I'm into poetry. The
Hmm.
creativeness, the darkness, who he was as a person is kind of interesting and unique to me. He
Mm.
went to West Point for a little bit. Most people don't know that.
Wow.
He did not graduate. Just those stories and how, when I think
Yes.
about like we're all familiar with his Telltale Heart and so many, The Raven. He has a quote,
Mm.
everything we see or seem is a dream within a dream. Like those things, I would love to have I
Wow.
think it would make a good dinner conversation.
Makes
And
you
then a
think for
person
sure.
who's like alive and just would be fun to have a conversation with is Barack Obama.
Oh yeah, is right there. I'll
Oh
put it right
yeah,
here.
I would.
Yes.
It would be
Is
interesting. We actually I get compared to him a lot. I would just like to tell him that one time, like, sir, you don't know how many times people call me President Obama or
yes.
have said we look alike. But I also like
Yes.
to be able to talk to a president would be very interesting. Is
Yeah.
have the conversations about the decisions that are made, the stresses that are
Mm.
involved. He has a high power wife.
Amazing.
He has 2 daughters like I do.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be I think a good dinner conversation. And I like basketball. There's
Absolutely.
a lot of things we potentially have in common. So if anybody can hook me up with Barack Obama dinner, I would be in super depth to
Yes.
you.
And I know he has, I think, being my brother's keeper or something in Auckland. I am in San Francisco, so it's not very far from where I am. Sometimes I definitely would like to meet him. My forever president, that's for sure. Okay, let me see. Let's talk about books now. So we've already talked about Start with Why, read it with a grain of salt, and you've mentioned this one. Why should people read this book, The Daily Stoic?
Well, one, I'm a fan of a couple times I've read books that have like kind of this day-to-day thing, where you can kind of I've read a Calendar of Wisdom by Leo Tolstoy as well, where it's like this daily, like this piece. You can get through these pieces in little bites, little chunks over a whole year. It's just a journey. It's a great journey to think about your ego, stoicism in general, the values that are involved in this stuff, virtue ethics, the ability to reflect and to really kind of hone in on who you are at the core. And like I said earlier, think about your character with a K.
That is powerful. And what about this one? I don't know if you can say it.
Oh yeah, that's the one I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Again, their premise that you can't manage energy. I'm sorry, you can't manage time, but you can manage energy. This book changed my life.
Wow.
I'm not even exaggerating. It changed my life as to how I thought about trying to do that integration piece, trying to think about how I engage in this thing called extroversion when I'm very much an introvert. This book is, oh man, it is absolutely priceless. It will change your life. I guarantee it.
Wow, that is really powerful. What about this one that you mentioned as well? Hold on, my computer is a little bit slow. Okay, this one, it's all yellow.
Oh yeah, Digital Minimalism by COL Newport. So this is actually becoming old now. I mean, this book is 5, 6, 7, 8 years old now. It came out when it was just kind of telling you like how you can do, like Cal Newport at one point, like you got rid of all social media off, it's still to this day, like does not use social media, things like that. If I remember right, but this book will tell you exactly what that subtitle says, but really it's about managing your digital world in a way that it is intuitive, but none of us do. Using the apps, using your screen features, like even people don't know you can do this. If you set it up on your phone, you can actually turn your phone, and I don't know if this will show. Oop, you don't want to see my USA stuff. Let me get that off the screen. But it's black and white. You can change the color on your screen, so your apps and things like that. This is shown to me through practices like this, where none of my apps show any color. And I know that's probably hard to see on the screen, but even you graying out your phone can make the apps themselves less attractive. You won't see as the notification bubbles. And you can turn notifications off completely. It's things like that. Just practical sense by Cal that is absolutely fantastic. Another guy I would love to have dinner with, because I want to know how he becomes a bestseller and doesn't use social media.
Yeah, that is really something. Actually, when I read this book, the one thing it really inspired me to get rid of distraction. I use an app now for my email where it blocks my inbox. If I go to it, I have to do an extra click in order to see it. Because sometimes what happens is, no, it's not bad, but you get to read one email and then it's another email, and before you know it, whatever you had planned to do, you don't get to do it at all. Yeah. So what about this one? Leadership is a relationship.
So Mike Irwin and Willis Duvall. So this is a great book that just talks about you have to learn a couple different things. Leading yourself first is a part of it. You can't lead anybody else without leading yourself first. And then this book comes along from them and really talks about the relationships that you build, the mentorship piece of it, the connection to others, and the relationship between character and character strengths with your actual leadership philosophy.
Wow. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday again.
Again, another one. This one actually breaks out the definition for me of being purposeful versus passionate. In the book, it starts talking about how passion is like a fire, if you really think about it. I don't care how you try to mitigate it. Once you put that fire in place, an ember blows off into the woods or something like that, and now it's uncontrollable.
And
But
that's the same Ryan Holiday, right? Who wrote the
oh yeah,
story.
same gentleman.
And then
But
you
then
just
Purpose is a laser. Oh yeah, this is the
mentioned this
one.
one.
It's
Yeah.
right back here on the shelf too for me.
Wow.
This one is
All
like
right.
the other book where it's well, this one's different. Calendar of Wisdom by Leo Tolstoy. This one has different quotes from different people over time.
Mhm.
So every day you're getting something from. It could be Martin Luther. It could be a Bible
Wow.
verse. You can get some from a poet
Yes.
like Walt Whitman or Edgar Allan Poe.
Mm.
You'll see a
Powerful.
lot of different things in that book.
Yes.
And what it does is it'll show the quote and then it'll kind of give a breakout of what it is about. And
Okay.
I've read that a couple times during a couple different years. You don't want to read that back to back, I don't think. But
that's really amazing. So what is the
really
most
great.
important book recommendation for today, sir?
Go get a blank journal all day. Like
Yes.
I can't emphasize. I have a stack of journals back here
Yes.
in one of my tiered shelves that I can go back and tell you, because I track stuff like this. I can tell you how many dates I went on with my wife 5 years ago because
Wow.
I have the data. I
That
can tell you
is
what I was grateful
amazing.
for. I can tell you what my gratitude kind of my gratitude practices honed around all last year. I can tell you how many times I've taken my kids to the movies because I journal about it. And I think
That's
having
amazing.
a blank journal and having some type of bullet journal or gratitude or write it down practice
Yes.
will let you flesh out your ideas. As Joe Brierley has pointed out many a time on from the Green Notebook in his podcast and his blogs, he likes to quote this quote that says, I don't know what I think until I can see what I say.
Wow.
Meaning I need
what
to
you say.
write it down, right?
Yes,
I need to write
yes,
it down. And I probably
yes.
bastardize that quote a little bit, but the
No,
concept, the idea
that is
here
powerful.
is writing the things down so I can see it, flesh it out. And for me, I have a couple different journals. One of them is just about, it's called Lots of Jots. It's where I flesh out ideas. It is separate from my work journal. It's, my bullet journal, gratitude at the end of the day, where I'm like stoplight charting my priorities. Man, the most important book you can have is a blank journal.
That is so powerful. You reminded me of this book from my primary mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell. It says, The Greatest Story Ever Told. So he signed this one, but when I bought it, I was so excited that it's nothing but blank pages. So it says, write your own life story. That is really the greatest story that will be told. Writing. I think it's cathartic, right? It brings healing and it helps you really take all of those thoughts all over the place and organize them. And thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, we are toward the end now. If you had one and only one day to live, sir, what would you have liked your final contribution to be?
One day and one day left to live. My final contribution. I would probably want to spend it right here with my kids and my wife.
Yes.
And I would want to tell them stories about our lives, about our family history. Beyond myself, I'm talking about generations. And I would want to hear them share, how they tie into that legacy, or maybe how they would share like a best memory they had with me or with their mom. I think that's what I would want to do. It wouldn't be live streamed. It wouldn't be on Facebook. It wouldn't be on any external connection. It'd be right here in my couch or on the floor. Looking at pictures. We still have physical pictures on I rotate them out on my refrigerator.
Yes.
We take family pictures every year, and I'd probably just want to do that. I would want that to be the lasting memory I would leave with those people. They're simply the most important people in my life. My two daughters and my wife. Easy.
That is powerful. Yeah, I have two daughters too. Although my first one is now a young woman, she's pretty much independent now. It's a very hard transition for a father. I didn't think I would miss her that much when she went to college. But anyway, so if you had a magic wand and you woke up tomorrow morning, what is one problem you would like to solve if you could solve any problem? One problem.
One problem. Man, that's a tough and interesting one as well. I almost defaulted to, I would like, mentoring relationships to be better, but then I'd be out of work. So, I would want to continue to work on that. I don't know if I have a great answer for that, honestly. I don't have one. That would take a lot of for me, a lot of reflection, a lot of thought to really think through how I
Mhm.
could really solve something big. So I actually don't have an answer for that.
Or even small, just something that is close to you. I know my wife and I, we've been talking about homelessness here in the San Francisco
Yeah.
Bay Area. I can't believe, no, we have billionaires here. I guess we're gonna have a trillionaire very soon, Elon Musk. But there are people in San Francisco who don't have a place to live. They live in the street, and I just don't understand that. With all of the innovation and the smart we have in this area, it's really incredible. But anyway,
I,
so we are coming toward the answer. How can we add value back to you?
The best thing you can do is, uh, for me personally, I would love for you all to start reading. I would love for you all to start writing, to start journaling. I would love for you to start thinking about, reflection, and thinking about mentoring, and thinking about your leadership journey, thinking about character. Sure, connect. You
Mm,
can connect with me always. You can connect with military mentors. You can connect with the Center for Mentoring Excellence. You can connect to anything that I'm connected to, and that would, in a way, let me serve my purpose,
mhm.
and let me serve you. I would love to do that. But really,
Yeah.
this journey is about it. It all starts with you.
Mm,
I know there's a balance of the ego. There's a balance of humility that needs to happen. But I'm telling you right now, you
yes.
can't lead anybody. You can't do anything for anybody else if your cup isn't full, and if you don't know who
Mm,
you are. When you really start your leadership journey, wherever you are,
yes.
you could be as old as me and as senior as I am, and you can start your journey at this point too. It's all about like
Mm,
knowing who you are. A lot of people like, well, how do you get a purpose statement? How do you get values? How do you know what your priorities are? Well, first you need to know who
yes.
you are. And I think I
Mm,
know who I am, right? Like my title there is Chaveso Chevy Cook. It doesn't say colonel, it doesn't say
yes.
doctor, it doesn't say PhD behind it. Now those things might find
Mhm.
themselves on LinkedIn or other places, but I am Chevy
Yes.
first and foremost. And I want you to find out who you are. So
Mm,
serve me by finding who you are. And if you want help with that journey, people who know me know if you reach out, I'm going to reach back. There's
yes.
no, I don't ignore
Wow.
anyone.
That is powerful. Thank you, sir. All right. Is there a question I should have asked you that I haven't had a chance to ask yet before
Yeah.
we close the show? So we good. Okay. So let me ask you this very important question then. What would you say to your 17-year-old self standing at the edge of this incredible career you've had in the most powerful army in the world? One promotion away from being a one-star general. Wow. What would you say to 17-year-old Chevy?
Number one, I would tell that person, so you're gonna meet this girl here very shortly. Make sure that that girlfriend you get, you keep next to, because that's gonna be your wife, and she's gonna be the most powerful influence in your life. She's gonna
Wow.
give you the kids that you're gonna have. So make sure you pay attention to that young lady when you meet her, and you stay with her. So that's number one. I would tell that young 17-year-old.
Mm,
The other thing I would tell that young 17-year-old is I'm gonna tell that person like, hey, you're in a crap neighborhood. You don't have the life experiences.
mhm.
You're gonna be set up for success here shortly by going to a place called West Point. But you
Wow.
need to be humble quicker, earlier, and more often.
Mm,
And just because you came from an era that was braggadocious, and you came from the rap culture where you can't really there's a banter that goes about it. In the neighborhood
yes.
I came in, there was no such thing as being humble, because humble might get you killed, stabbed, shot, hurt, because you had to
Mm,
be that kind of braggart. I would tell that 17-year-old, hey, tone all of that down before you go to West Point. It'll help you much longer in the future.
wow.
That's probably the two things, I would tell myself.
All right. So to end the show, then it's going to take less than a minute. Lightning round question. Don't take too long to think. What is one word that defines great leadership? One word.
Discernment,
Morning routine or practice that keeps you grounded.
prayer,
A book or a quote that changed your life.
the Bible is kind of a default, but my bullet journal, a journal.
Okay. And who inspired you most today?
My wife, watching her So she has her own career. She takes care of me. I'm distant. I'm away. My kids. She does everything.
Yes.
That's the number one leadership example and inspiration in my house at all times. Like
Wow.
she is fantastic. Though, so one of my children is autistic, high functioning, but also has ADHD. It's a
Mm,
wicked mix. My
yeah.
wife works remotely for the Wharton School, one of the best business
Mm,
schools in the world. My other
yeah.
daughter is a high performing creative who is in high school, who has all the aspirations in the world. Then she
Yes.
has this joker that she's been with since high school that she's seen when he was a nobody, that thinks he's a somebody,
Uh,
and works all the way off at the Pentagon and does podcasts and things like that. She has to
yes.
deal with all of that while managing her own career and
Mm,
also being who she is and being helpful
yes.
and cooking meals and making a home and being loving
Mm,
and leading this family in a
powerful.
way that is ultimately and graciously
Wow.
um, uh, powerful is the way
That
simple way
is
to put it.
powerful. It is powerful. Thank you so much for sharing. Um, a leadership habit that you refuse to compromise on.
Um, hmm. It's going to go back to reading and reflecting, those
Yes.
kind of things. Like I have to,
Journaling.
but I think I'm ruthlessly habitual.
Mm,
There's no such thing as not working out. There's no
yes.
such thing as not praying. There's no such thing as not reading. There's no like
Yes.
I am doggedly determined with
Mm,
respect to my habits, and I have
that's
been for
powerful.
the better part of 30 years, and I think that's part of where I am. But
That
if
is
it's
powerful. I know Dr. Maxwell says the secret to your success is found in your daily routine. And
right,
which question do you believe every leader should ask themselves frequently?
who are you?
Who am I? All right.
Who
What
am
did you want to do when you were a kid?
I actually want to be an architect. I think
Architect. Hmm.
I think I'm probably an architect in some ways. I build things. I just
Hmm.
build them in different ways. I try to be a builder of people, not edifices.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so as the founder of the mentorship, military mentorships, you are really architecting the future generation.
I would
That's a
hopefully,
huge
I'm
legacy.
trying to
Yeah.
scaffold something, but back
Yes.
then, I think it was just more about like drawing and things like that. I see it
Wow.
play out in my oldest, where she wants to be a creative. She's a creative in general. She wants to be a graphic
Mhm.
illustrator. She has wicked talent.
Wow.
But yeah, I wanted to be an architect way back in the
That's
day as a
beautiful.
kid.
And what were three adjectives describing you as a child? Three.
3 adjectives as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Um, silly. I
Mm-hmm.
still am in a certain way.
Two more.
I think I was. I think people would say I was smart back in the day.
Okay. One more.
Hmm. Unfortunately, people probably say broken as well.
Mm.
Just
Okay.
this where I was, what I was going through, the chip that was actually very exposed on my shoulder. People
Yes.
could see through that,
Mm.
and I didn't display it well. And I got in a lot of fights and was a class clown and things like that.
Wow.
So I would say broken is probably the last one as well. Unfortunately.
What about as an adult?
Ooh, um, uh, mm, man, that's a good one. People do call me humble, and I appreciate that. It's a great
Mm-hmm.
compliment.
But someone
Um,
told me the minute you call yourself humble, you are no longer humble.
yeah, yeah, I know, but that's why I said people call me
Yes,
that.
yes, I
For the most
completely
part.
understand. But I thought it was kind of
Yeah.
funny when this guy said it.
Yeah. I
But
think people would
also,
also.
no, you are a colonel. I've spoken to and worked with a lot of flag officer, admiral, and general. It seems to me like they must be going to some type of humility school before they get their first star. Because I've never seen a general officer who was proud and arrogant. Like they're just down to earth. Like even like General Petraeus, like he just calls me. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like a demigod is calling me. What is going on? Am I in trouble? But it's just a regular person. No, not a persona, not this big, celebrity and all of that. Now, I've seen some senior officer like lieutenant colonel and colonel who may be a little bit arrogant, but it looks like there's got to be some military school. They send them to get them back down to being just human and nice.
Finishing school. I think they
Yeah,
call it finishing school or something like that back in the day.
that's amazing. But anyway, so you said humble. Two more as an adult.
I would hope people would call me caring.
Yes.
I think I do show that in a lot of different ways. I think I
Mhm.
connect with others in deep ways. I would
And
hope people would.
one
And I
more.
would hope people would also say I'm reflective. That
Yes,
I think
definitely.
deeply. I think before I speak. That
Yes.
I try to think about my day, my family, my processes, my habits, and all the things
Yes.
about it.
All right. Finally, the last question, and this is it. What is one word that represents our shared experience on this podcast today?
Hmm. Um, I jumped to whole.
Wow.
Because we covered a whole range of topics.
Thank
We
you.
covered a vast majority of my life, my personal thoughts and personal beliefs. And it came full circle in a lot of ways, like starting with my journey and coming to where I am, and just kind of walking through like what I wanted to be as a kid, and so circling
Yeah.
all the way kind of full
Wow.
back, I think. And we've talked about academia, we've talked
Yes.
about my nonprofit stuff, we talked about the military. So yeah,
Well,
whole.
thank you. Thank you so much, Colonel Chaveso, Chevy Cook. Really appreciate your time and being one of our master
Thanks,
teachers
BZ.
today on the Leadership and Success podcast. Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Wow. All right, everyone. That was the Colonel. All right. I hope you really got something out of it. So tomorrow I will be speaking with Commander William Spears. So that's going to be tomorrow, Sunday afternoon. And then next week I will have CIO Lee Jones, award-winning Chief Information Officer. We're going to be talking about going from legacy to resilience. And then I will have a wonderful leadership conversation with the one and only, doesn't need to be introduced, Admiral Melissa Bird, U.S. Coast Guard. She's the last JAG, Judge Advocate General for the Coast Guard. She's retired now, but she's principled, strategic, and empowering. And I really want to talk about leadership at the intersection of law, trust, and national security. I think this is going to be a timely conversation. But I will also talk after her with Charlie Wetzel. It's been confirmed he's a master craftsman, faithful steward, and multiplier of impact. Charlie is actually the writing companion of my primary mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell. You won't see his name on as an author for the book, but he's the one that really helped my primary mentor come up with more than 100 books, right? Most of them being New York Times best-selling books. Just incredible. And he's also done the same work for other people as well, like, for example, this book, Gone Up Faith, with Kevin Myers. So he's really the person in the background that makes everything happen. But anyway, I really want to put the spotlight on him. And after him, I have another confirmation. We're going to be talking with Tambra Ray Stevenson, food justice visionary, cultural engineer, and scholar practitioner. We're going to be talking about leadership with nourishment, and she's the best-selling author of the Wanda series for kids. All right, so that's what we have planned, and I look forward to it. So I will see you again tomorrow. And like I also mentioned, I started in January to do this publicly. So I'm going through the book of Proverbs, ancient wisdom, mentoring from the book of Proverbs, right? We're looking for ancient wisdom, leadership lesson from the book of Proverbs. Today is January the 3rd, so I did Proverbs chapter 3 this morning. You can watch the replay on LinkedIn and YouTube, and it should be on all of the podcast platforms by the end of today. And tomorrow, at some time, I will be back for Proverbs chapter 4. We're going to do this all month. Again, it's a special edition of the Leadership and Success podcast. So it's season 31. We are currently on season 5 for the regular season. Hopefully, you can join me. Again, it's not religious at all, just going through the book of Proverbs to get wisdom that can be applied today for leadership and success. All right, that's all I have for you. I believe there may be one more chat. Let's see. Okay. Gladiator 6 says, thank you both. This was so powerful. Thank you so much for letting us know. And for those who don't know, part of the reason why I really love this feedback is when I first started, 5 years ago now, My first podcast, it was the audience of one, me, myself, and I. Nobody was listening to me, and I wasn't even sure if anybody would listen. So now we have a growing audience in America and all around the world, and I really, really love your feedback, and I love learning from you as well. All right, see you tomorrow for those who are going to join me for Proverbs chapter 4 study and the interview with Commander Williams. Okay, bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If today's episode added value to your leadership journey, be sure to subscribe, share, and join us again for more wisdom nuggets on how to lead better and achieve greater success. Remember, leadership is the most critical skill of our time. The world will always need leaders to inspire others, drive innovation, and execute meaningful strategy. So why not count yourself among the bold leaders shaping the 21st century? Until next time, stay inspired, stay committed, and keep leading with excellence.